3 spine-chilling carnival tales revealed, haunted secrets and sinister truths exposed. In the quiet, seemingly perfect town of Maplewood, where everyone knows everyone, a carnival rolled in one ordinary evening, casting twisted shadows over the soft glow of streetlights. Lisa, a single mother at 35, watched as her 2 energetic kids, Sammy and Grace, pulled her towards the bright, flickering lights. The laughter of children filled the air, a sound that seemed a little too jubilant, too carefree. Something prickled at the back of Lisa's mind, but the moment was entrancing, and she let the feeling slip away for just a night. The dilapidated carnival, with its peeling paint and rusted rides, hosted a mix of delight and dread. A haunting melody hummed through the chaotic ambience, inviting families like moths to a flame. Yet scattered whispers about pets gone missing filled the air with a sense of unease. Underneath the garish lights, Lisa felt a shiver as she caught a glimpse of a girl darting away, her eyes vacant and searching. Chalking it up to tiredness, she refrained from cautioning her kids, eager for them to enjoy a rare night of joy. As they explored, more unsettling details unfurled, children wearing curious facades of smiles, but their eyes told different stories, lost, confused, trapped. Sweat began to bead on Lisa's forehead. Every playful shriek around her seemed to morph into eerie echoes. Desperately, she clutched her children's hands, forcing herself to focus on the merry-go-round ahead. Then she noticed Ellis, an old carnival worker with eyes that seemed to harbor dark secrets. He leaned in close, filled with a trembling urgency. "You shouldn't be here, lady. This carnival—" "It's not what it seems," he whispered, his raspy voice sinking into her bones. "People say folks have gone missing. Kids, families." Lisa forced a smile, dismissing his dire warnings as old wives' tales. Yet deep down, a cold wave of dread washed over her. The hairs on her neck prickled violently. Before she could think more of it, Lisa's friend Jenny, caught in the carnival's web of lights, became transfixed. "What am I seeing?" she murmured, her gaze fixating on a twisted ride that glimmered in sickly colors. Lisa's heart raced. She pulled at Jenny's arm, trying to shake her from a trance that seemed morbidly captivating, the laughter tinged in a nightmarish tone, vibrating through the warm air. Panic surged. Before Lisa could react, the ground seemed to shift beneath her, pulling her deeper into the carnival's labyrinthine heart. Shadows flickered, weaving stories around her, stories that became palpable fears. "Stay close," she shouted, her voice trembling as panic crept into every corner of her mind. Each twist of the carnival's attractions grew darker as she instinctively held Sammy and Grace tighter. The whispers grew louder as Lisa peered into the shadows. In a heartbeat, she spotted familiar faces, respected figures from her town, shrouded in darkness, their expressions stretched into ghastly smiles, almost longing. Her breath hitched. This carnival wasn't simply a source of entertainment, it was a trap. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As darkness swallowed the carnival, it became clear Lisa needed to unmask the twisted reality before her children became part of this sinister tale. Her mind raced as she saw more wraith-like figures beckoning. With danger looming, she knew time was running out. Fear wrapped around her mind like a vice. How far would she go to save her children? And in that moment, the chill of a heartbeat echoed in the night. Lisa's heart thudded in her chest as she turned, scanning the dimly lit expanse of the carnival. Under that veneer of fun, something monstrous lurked, and the realization sent a jolt of fear coursing through her veins. Sammy and Grace were tugging at her hands, bewildered by the shifting gears of the night. In their innocent little faces was a dawning comprehension. The carnival, their sanctuary, had transformed into a web of horrors. "What do we do, Mom?" Sammy's small voice trembled. Lisa swallowed hard, her throat dry and tight. She pulled her children closer, wanting nothing more than to shield them from whatever darkness crept around them. Forcing herself to move, she started toward the distant glow of the nearest exit, each step feeling heavier than the last. The laughter of other children echoed, twisted and hollow. It clawed at her sanity. She heard whispers that seemed to rise and fall, like the breath of the night itself. The rustling shadows beckoned with fingers made of smoke. She could feel their chilling presence, their despair woven into the air like static electricity. Suddenly, Jenny stepped out from the shadows, her eyes wide and vacant. "Lisa, help me!" she cried, her voice flat, not filled with urgency, but some haunting, chilling despair. Lisa hesitated, torn between saving her friend and protecting her kids. The shadows shifted, closing in, as if sensing her indecision. "Mom, we have to go!" Grace cried out, her voice filled with an urgency that cut through the haze. Lisa gripped her daughter's hand tighter, shifting her gaze back to the carnival's entrance. The once cheerful carousel loomed behind them, its painted horses caught in a frozen grimace, staring with lifeless eyes. Ellis reappeared, a spectre among the fading lights. "You can't escape. No one does. They'll keep coming back, the lost souls." He raised a trembling finger, jabbing it toward the heart of the carnival. Lisa's pulse quickened. The old man's warnings were no longer distant whispers. They hung in the air, pressing like a weight against her chest. "Mom!" Sammy yanked at her sleeve, panic spilling across his face. Lisa turned once more, only to see Jenny slipping backward, disappearing into a shroud of darkness, her despairing eyes the last thing visible as she vanished. "No, Jenny!" It was a decision moment. The urge to save her friend tangled with the growing fear for her children. Sweeping her gaze across the grounds, Lisa saw figures moving faster, shadows flitting like moths drawn to a flame, tugging at the very edges of her sanity. Establishing her resolve, Lisa made a split-second decision. "We have to go now!" She set off toward the carnival's entrance. The cold wind nipped at her skin, and the shadows seemed to leap closer with every step. The ground rumbled beneath them, an unnatural tremor that sent Lisa sprawling. She gasped, regaining her footing, clutching her children's hands and charging forward, her heart pounding like a war drum, desperation fueling her movements. The carnival lights flickered erratically, sparkles of happiness, now shadows of fear. She could hear the whispers, now a cacophony. "Help us, save us, join us." Driven by the primal instinct to protect her children, she sprinted faster, each breath punctuated by the shrieks of the damned echoing behind her. The exit loomed closer, a beacon of hope shrouded in darkness. Just as they reached the gates, the shadows surged forward like a tide, grabbing at her clothes, her hair, pulling her back into the darkness. The moment felt suspended in time. Panic gripped her throat. Would she lose them all? "Mummy, don't go!" Grace wailed, her little fingers slipping from Lisa's grasp. In that instant, Lisa, torn between escape and loss, shouted out, "Hold on!" As the darkness swallowed more of the carnival, sparkles of terror twirling around them. Then a deafening silence, no laughter, no cries. Lisa stood, breathless, waiting for the next move of the twisted figures lurking just behind the veil. What would she have to sacrifice to save her children, and would it lead to their salvation or damnation? In a single flash, she turned to see a figure emerging from the shadows, its face obscured as it took a step forward, dripping with malice and secrets. "Come and play!" It hissed, an invitation soaked in dread. Lisa's heart raced as shadows closed in. Would she uncover the truth behind the carnival's curse, or would they all become one with the lost children who had called this carnival home? The night wore on, and Lisa knew the grip of terror was far from releasing its hold. The shadows surged like a living tide, thick and suffocating. Lisa felt them brush against her skin, cold tendrils reaching, grasping, as if trying to pull her into the depths of despair. Panic clawed at her throat. "Stay close!" she screamed, gripping her children with a ferocity that shocked even her. The malevolence pulsed around them, hungry for her fear, eager to devour her soul. "Mommy, I'm scared!" Sammy's voice quivered, and Lisa glanced down to see his wide eyes shimmering with tears. She could feel his tiny heart racing against her palm. It matched her own frantic heartbeat. "Keep running!" she urged, forcing her feet to move, albeit the weight of despair slowed her down. The world around them twisted and distorted. The lights of the carnival flickered like dying stars, barely illuminating the path to salvation. "Through the exit!" Grace cried, pointing to the fading light ahead. But as they ran, the laughter morphed into grating cackles, a cruel chorus echoing in the encroaching darkness. It taunted her, reminding her that this place was not merely a carnival. It was a prison. Behind them, the figure that had whispered earlier was gaining ground, each step purposeful and predatory. Oblivious to the chaos swirling around, it was gaining strength, shadows pooling at its feet like a mantle of doom. Lisa turned, locking eyes with the ghastly figure. There was a familiarity to its presence, an echo from her past that sent terror coursing through her veins. Then a voice drifted from the darkness. "You think you can escape? They can't be saved. You have to join them. They are waiting for you." It was Jenny, distorted and faint, her silhouette flickering like an apparition. Each syllable rang with a haunting resonance that chilled Lisa to her core. "Don't listen!" Lisa shouted, but it felt like trying to drown out thunder with whispers. She pressed on, the prize of freedom just ahead, but each inch felt like wading through water. The shadows clung tighter, a web of despair threading around her limbs, slowing her down at every turn. They reached the gates, a facade of dimly lit hope hanging over them, yet as Lisa grasped the rusty latch, a thunderous roar filled the air. A wave of dark energy struck her, intoxicating and suffocating. She felt her strength waning, a hollow feeling gnawing deep inside. The cries from behind melded into a chaotic symphony, an invitation to their cursed party. "Mom, I can't breathe!" Grace cried. Her small voice fading as panic took over, Lisa tightened her grip on her daughter, a primal instinct coursing through her as she fought against the darkness that threatened to envelop them entirely. "Hold on!" With one last surge of energy, she yanked hard on the latch, flinging the gate open. An overwhelming blast of cold air rushed in as they stumbled through, tumbling into a space that felt too surreal. But lying ahead, a twisted illusion awaited. It was not the freedom she craved. It was not the safety promised. It was a swirling vortex of light and shadow, the carnival's heart laid bare, the center of lost souls forever condemned, stuck in a loop of eternal torment. "No!" she screamed, rushing toward her children as shadows wriggled around them, grasping for souls. Panic seized her. They needed to escape. But the laughter intensified, cutting through the silence, wrapping them tighter in a shroud of dread. The very air shimmered, reflecting twisted memories of children lost, their eyes empty echoes of past nightmares. "We're too close to turn back now," Lisa shouted, but her words felt inadequate against the haunting reality. A choice lay within this new realm. Was it her or the shadows that would survive? Then, from the swirling chaos, a new form emerged, shameful, twisted, and familiar. "Join us, Lisa," it said, an invitation stark with relentless malice. With dread coiling in her stomach, Lisa realized the truth. To save her children, she might have to sacrifice everything she once held dear. Would she be willing to embrace the dark legacy of the carnival? Heart racing, she took a step forward, ready to face whatever monstrous truth lay ahead. What would she discover at the heart of the carnival? Would her love be enough to confront the nightmare threatening to consume them all? The swirling vortex loomed, pulsing with an unsettling rhythm, like the heartbeat of something ancient and vile. Lisa's breath caught in her throat. Those shadowy tendrils brushed against her skin with a fierceness that felt possessive, as if coercing her to surrender. Fear seeped into every pore, drowning her in dread. "Mommy!" Sammy clutched her leg, his grip tight and trembling. She could sense the strength draining from her limbs, the shadows weaving tighter around her, like a snake coiling before the kill. "Stay close!" she roared, her voice cracking under panic. Their escape had barely begun, and yet already the Carnival's depths threatened to pull them under. "Look!" Grace pointed toward the center of the vortex, as flashes of bright colors flickered like forgotten carnival lights, lost amid an endless void. Shadows twisted in and out, forming distorted visages of lost children, their mouths wide in silent screams. Lisa's heart raced. "Don't look at them!" she shouted. The shadows were calling, beckoning her children to come closer. She strained against the dark pull, clenching her fists. Memories of laughter echoed around them like cruel taunts. "Mommy, I feel them." Sammy's voice was a small quiver. They're sad. "No, don't listen." She wrenched her gaze from the beckoning spirit forms, pulling her children backward, away from the noise. It was wrong. They had to move, had to escape. But the moment she turned, a cold hand clamped down on her shoulder. A voice, low and mellifluous, whispered into her ear, "Join us, Lisa. Become one of us." She froze, a shiver crawling up her spine. The figure from before, a nightmare in human form, loomed close. Its gaze burned with malevolence, eyes glistening like obsidian stones reflecting her deepest fears. "You can't fight it," it hissed, sinister and coaxing. "We were all lost once. You'll never escape without joining the Carnival." "No!" she yelled, hysteria blurring her voice. "We will get out! We will be free!" She grabbed Sammy's little hand and held Grace close, pushing toward the edge of the vortex. Yet the shadows writhed hungrily, dragging at their feet, pulling them backwards with unyielding strength. Lisa wrestled against the grip, panic rising like bile in her throat. "Children, we have to fight!" The air was thick, oppressive, but Lisa's instinct was pure. It surged in her, a wall of unwavering love shielding them. She forced their eyes forward, focusing on a distant glimmer of light beyond the vortex, a promise of safety. "We can't let them take you," she shouted, her voice a fierce roar reclaiming her will. Then a figure, Jenny, materialized amidst the chaos, her lips pulled back in a sinister smile. "Don't you see? They don't want escape, Lisa. They want you." With a single breath, Lisa felt a fury igniting within her. "No, I won't let this nightmare claim us." She surged forward, dragging the children with her, using every last ounce of strength. But as they broke through the edge of the shadow's embrace, laughter erupted, a cacophony of despair rippling behind them. As they stumbled, she turned just in time to see the darkness parting ways, like a great maw, something sinister swirling in the depths. The laughter faded, replaced by murmurs of children whose fates were sealed. "This isn't over." Lisa swallowed hard, as the sensation of cold tightened around her heart. Facing the unknown, she gripped her children tighter. The Carnival's heart was just beginning to reveal its secrets, and now they were at its mercy. What awaited them in the depths of fear? As shadows lurked, would the truth unravel Lisa's tenuous grip on reality, blurring the lines between sacrifice and survival? They stumbled into a dimly lit alleyway, the heavy stench of decay hanging in the air like a shroud. Lisa braced herself against a cold wall, breathing hard, each gasp tinged with desperation. Her heart pounded violently in her chest, an echo of the chaos that had just engulfed them. "Mummy, are we safe?" Sammy whispered, his small voice trembling like a fragile leaf in the wind. She glanced around, as if expecting the shadows to leap out at them once more. I don't know yet," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Grace clutched Sammy's hand, her wide eyes darting nervously, scanning the darkness. "What about the children? The ones we saw?" she asked, her voice quavering. "Are they still trapped?" The very thought made Lisa's skin crawl. "We have to keep moving," she said, forcing down her own dread and pulling the children along. As they navigated the narrow path, the walls seemed to pulse, like the terrible heartbeat of the carnival. Every step felt like a step deeper into a living nightmare. Memories of laughter, maddened and distorted, still echoed around them. She could almost hear the trapped children calling for help, their pain a palpable entity lurking in the shadows. "Look!" Grace shouted, pointing at a faded poster plastered on the wall, its edges curling. There stood the smiling clown, its painted face cracked, an unsettling grin stretching wide. Beneath it read, "Join the fun forever." Lisa's stomach churned at the thought. "We have to go," she urged, pulling them away, but she could feel that tugging sensation again, like an invisible thread trying to reel them back. They walked faster, breaths coming in sharp bursts, but soon the atmosphere changed. The laughter grew louder, enveloping them like a heavy fog. It was no longer just background noise, it became a living force, as if the very carnival was trying to reclaim them. "Mommy, I don't want to hear it," Sammy cried, clutching his ears. "Please, no more." Grace followed, tears streaming down her cheeks. They rushed forward, but around the next corner, a figure blocked their way. It was a woman, her face obscured by tangled hair, her eyes glinting with a terrifying mixture of longing and despair. "You can't leave!" she wailed, a high-pitched sound that pierced the air. "You don't understand. You belong to us now." Lisa's heart raced. "Get back!" she shouted, putting herself in front of her children, fury igniting within her once more. But the woman didn't move. She stood there, trembling, her form flickering like a dying bulb. The shadows twisted behind her, forming a demonic shape that loomed closer. "You could be part of something greater, Lisa," the entity hissed, its voice slithering through the air like smoke. "Let us show you." "No!" Lisa yelled, driving her fear into every word. "I'll never join you!" With that, she pushed her children backward, praying, a desperate plea to whatever forces lingered above, but the shadows surged forward, reaching out with cold fingers, wrapping around their ankles like chains. They were going to be dragged back into the abyss. The panic surged anew, a tidal wave crashing through her. "Fight! Focus on each other!" she screamed, pulling them along, desperately searching for any way out of this labyrinth of despair. Yet, as they moved, the laughter warped around them, rising into a ghastly crescendo. The walls of the alley flickered, revealing grotesque scenes that turned Lisa's stomach. Children, laughing, playing, but their eyes dead, hollow. "Mummy, what's happening?" Sammy whimpered, his voice trembling with fear. "I don't know," she shouted, "but we can't stop. We have to find a way out." Just ahead, there was a faint glimmer of light peeking through the darkness, suspended like a star amid a swirling storm. They sprinted toward it, but the shadows clawed at their skin, gnashing with eager ferocity. As they reached the light, a piercing shriek tore through the air, echoing in every direction. Lisa turned, only to find the woman's face etched with desperation, her features shifting and distorting. "You can't leave! You don't know what you're giving up!" The shadows faltered for a moment, the light enveloping them like a warm embrace. But as Lisa turned back to shield her children, she heard a new voice, a sinister whisper promising power and freedom if only she would let go. What would she sacrifice to keep her children safe? And then, just as they were about to cross the threshold, the ground trembled violently beneath them, fracturing the air with a spine-chilling crack. They were far from free, and closer to the horrors of the carnival than ever before. The tremor broke the moment, shaking Lisa's determination. She stumbled, nearly losing her balance, and her instinct screamed at her to turn back. The light flickered, casting erratic shadows that danced along the walls, creating demons of their own. Sammy cried out, his voice raw with terror as the fear inside him exploded outward. "Mommy, it's not safe!" He clutched her leg, his fingers like iron clamps. "Keep moving," Lisa urged, her voice trembling but firm. She could feel the cold tendrils of darkness trying to wrap around her, pulling her down, but the glimmer of hope ahead was too bright to ignore. They couldn't let it go. It was their only chance. They surged forward, the shadows snarling and reaching. Grace's small hand slipped from Lisa's grasp for a heartbeat, and the horror hit like a wave. Time slowed, her heart racing as she turned. "Grace!" From the corner of her eye, she noticed a dark figure rising from the ground, its outline obscured in murky shadows. The woman's face morphed into a grotesque grin, a wide mouth full of jagged teeth gleaming in the dim light. "See, they all want to join too," she screeched, laughter dripping with madness. Lisa grabbed Grace just in time, yanking her to safety. They pressed on, the haunting echo of manic laughter spiraling around them, chasing after every step they took. The pavement felt like it was alive beneath their feet, shifting and writhing as if it wanted to swallow them whole. Suddenly a dense fog rolled in, swirling close enough to wrap around them like a thick blanket. Light vanished, swallowed by the darkness. The ambience shifted into silence. Breathless, Lisa instinctively crouched low, forcing the children to do the same, trying to listen for anything, any sign of hope or worse, the echo of the carnival laughing at them. "Mommy, hold me," Sammy whimpered, his voice quaking. She pulled him against her chest, heart racing in the void, the cold pressing in from every side. "We need to stay quiet, Sammy. Just hold on tight." But the silence was haunting. It felt wrong, too still. And then soft whispers flitted through the fog, wrapping around her like a serpent. "Join us, be with us." The voices were of children, the same children she had seen trapped in the alley's depths. Lisa clenched her jaw, squashing the unwanted emotions that clawed at her. "No!" she screamed, cutting through the silence. "We're not yours!" The fog recoiled momentarily, as if her words had stung. A brief flash of light pierced through the darkness before being snuffed out. But that light, it showed a glimpse of what lay ahead. Distorted funhouse mirrors, slashing carnival rides, twisted in ways that made her stomach churn. And then the shadows lunged again, not just as fingers reaching out, but as a swarm, an uproar of desperate faces clawing at the edges of reality. "Come play forever!" Panic erupted within her, thrumming in her veins. "Run!" she shouted, her voice cracking against the cacophony of noise. The children stumbled alongside her, heavy legs trying to outrun the shadows that threatened to consume them whole. A door. Up ahead, barely discernible through the gloom, an exit loomed. The air crackled around them, thick with the promise of freedom. Lisa lunged for it, desperate energy surging, but as they reached, the door slammed shut just before they could touch it. "No!" Grace sobbed, her small hands pounding feebly against the solid wooden barrier. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet shifted again, a terrifying undulation that threw them off balance. Like a trap door, it lurched, opening to the dark abyss below. "Hold on to me!" Lisa yelled, grasping both children tightly, but the shadows were relentless, twisting around her, hungry for despair. And then came the laughter again, loud and manic, jubilant, echoing all around them. But even amid the terror, a voice broke through, a whisper that rattled her bones. "You can't escape. You never will." Just then, the ground gave way completely, and with a bone-chilling scream, they plummeted into the unknown, darkness swallowing them whole. What horrors would they find lurking in the depths below? They fell. Time lost its meaning in the darkness, the trio blanketed by cold. The chill seeped through their clothes into their bones. Lisa held her children tighter, heart hammering in her chest. The sensation of free fall was disorienting, a sickening spin that made her stomach churn. When would they hit the ground? A sudden jerk and they landed, not with a thud but quietly. as if the void cushioned their fall. The darkness faded for a split second, revealing their surroundings, but the image seared into Lisa's mind. The landscape morphed, a carnival, twisted and warped like a fever dream. Rusty rides creaked in the distance, their metal bones groaning like restless souls. Whimsical painted booths stood askew, designs peeling like scabs. And the laughter, it was here too, echoing, hollow, inviting. "Mommy." Sammy's voice broke the silence, trembling under the weight of fear. He looked around, eyes wide. "Where are we?" I don't know," Lisa whispered, a knot tightening in her throat. In this grotesque carnival, shadows lingered purposefully, sharp and knowing. Wisps of light flickered like dying embers, but something felt wrong. Too quiet, too still. "Stay close," she urged, taking Sammy's hand and reaching for Grace. The tug of her daughter's small fingers felt like a lifeline, a reminder she wasn't alone. But Grace's eyes were glazed, staring off into the darkness, drawn toward the sound of music that drifted lazily from somewhere in the fog. "Grace!" Lisa shook her gently. "We have to keep moving." The girl blinked slowly, regaining focus, but the moment felt heavy, suffocating. Lisa's instincts screamed that this place was no ordinary carnival. Her gut twisted. Everything felt wrong, like a trap laid out before them. As they pressed forward, a flicker of color caught her eye. A carousel spun lazily in the distance, its horses galloping in agonizing slowness. Their eyes were wide and glassy, gleaming in the gloom. Lisa felt a chill slide down her spine. Were they alive? "Mommy, please, I want to ride," Grace cried, pointing toward the carousel. "No," Lisa shot back, pulling her children away. "It's not safe. Listen to me." But it was too late. The call of laughter was louder now, pulling at the children's hearts, whispering promises too tempting to ignore. The atmosphere thickened, brushing against her skin as though it were alive. Suddenly, figures began to appear, children with hollow eyes and grotesque grins creeping in from the shadows. "Don't you want to play?" They bobbed like marionettes advancing, their movements oddly jerky, yet fluid. "Run!" Lisa yelled, fear igniting her limbs. Pulling the kids behind her, she dashed away from the carousel, the cacophony of laughter trailing behind them, echoing ominously in the night. But the path twisted unexpectedly, as if the ground itself conspired against them. She could hear the soft thuds of footsteps behind, chasing them. Shadows lunged, snapping at her heels, eager to drag them back. "Mommy, please!" Sammy cried, his small feet faltering. "Keep running!" Pushing them forward, she could feel the darkness seep through her skin, hungry for despair. They turned a corner, only to stand still in horror before a funhouse. The entrance was gaping wide, a maw that promised madness within. Lisa's heart raced with indecision. Was this their ticket to escape, or another trap? "Go inside!" The shadows hissed from behind, voices taunting, weaving their way into her thoughts. "Mommy, I don't want to," Grace whimpered, backing away. The laughter grew louder. Confusion swirled in Lisa's chest as she fought to hold on to her grip on reality. But the shadows were relentless. They surged forward, pushing her and the children toward the bright lights and warped mirrors of the funhouse. And as they crossed the threshold, the entrance slammed shut behind them, the world outside fading into chaos. Inside, distorted reflections stared back at her, warping their faces, each child a grotesque image of hunger and sorrow. The laughter morphed into howls, deep reverberations that rattled her bones. Trapped in this disorienting maze, the whispers crawled back, slithering into her ears. "Join us, be with us, play forever." Then, as if from nowhere, a towering figure appeared. A clown with a painted face cracked and peeling, eyes glinting with malice. "Welcome to the family," it bellowed, an ear-splitting laugh tearing through the air. They were surrounded. What sinister game awaited them in this carnival of horrors, and could they find a way to break free? The laughter ricocheted off the walls of the funhouse, blending with the frantic rhythm. of Lisa's heartbeat. The clown towered over them, its enormous painted grin contorting into something savage. The lights flickered ominously, casting elongated shadows that danced menacingly on the warped mirrors. "Playtime!" it screeched, its voice like nails on chalkboard, sending shivers down Lisa's spine. Panic surged as she scanned the room, searching for an exit, but all she found was an endless maze of distorted reflections. "Mommy, I'm scared!" Sammy clutched her leg, his small body trembling. Grace stood motionless behind her, mesmerized by the clown's grotesque charm. "Don't look at it! Run!" Lisa shouted, grabbing both children and steering them toward the nearest corridor. The laughter morphed into sinister whispers, filling her ears. "They're ours! Forever!" As they plunged deeper into the funhouse, the walls seemed to tighten around them. The mirrors flickered with life, distorting their images into horrific parodies. Lisa barely recognized her reflection, eyes sunken, face shadowed in fear. "Why won't they just let us out?" Grace's voice trembled, a quiver that sank into Lisa's heart like a stone. "They're just tricks, sweetie. Keep moving," Lisa urged, pulling them down a narrow passage. The laughter followed, sickeningly close, like a predator lurking in the dark. Suddenly, they stumbled into a brightly lit room. It was eerily vibrant, painted in gaudy colors. Cotton candy and popcorn machines sat idle, yet the air crackled with the promise of delights. Posters plastered the walls, showing children playing with the same clown, their eyes wide in unnatural delight. "What is this place?" Sammy whispered, his voice trembling. The clown's laughter echoed from behind them, a cruel reminder. "It's a party!" it called, growing ever nearer. "You don't want to miss the fun!" "Mommy!" Grace whimpered, her hand slipping from Lisa's as she drifted closer to the machine that churned out colorful, sugary threads. "No!" Lisa yanked Grace back. "Don't go near that!" Her heart raced as she fought the darker pull of the carnival's allure. The colors seemed to swirl around like a storm, tugging at their senses. She felt disoriented, memories of normalcy fading like shadows in the carnival's light. But it was too late. Grace had plucked a bright piece of spun sugar from the machine. The moment it touched her lips, the air warped. Shadows flickered like lightning across her face, and for one terrifying moment, Lisa saw a flicker of joy in her daughter's eyes, a joy that sent warning bells ringing in her mind. "Grace!" she screamed, but the girl merely giggled, her laughter twisting into something that sounded terribly wrong. "Join us!" the clown crooned, its eyes glinting with predatory glee. Lisa grabbed Grace and pulled her back. "You need to listen to me! We have to go!" But the girl struggled, caught in the laughter, in whatever enchantment that carnival had spun over her. "Mommy, I want to stay!" Grace's voice transformed into a pleading whine, her innocence slipping away. Panic boiled in Lisa's chest. She could feel the darkness creeping, clawing at her as it drank in their fear. "We have to get out." She turned, dragging her children down another twisting path. The walls warped with every step, distorting everything around them. It was a nightmare that engulfed their senses. The bright colors, the sound of laughter, the smell of sweets transforming into something sickly sweet. As they ran, the path forked and split into three, each direction leading deeper into the chaotic design of the funhouse. The laughter swelled, almost mocking, as if daring them to choose their fate. The mirrors reflected distorted images, fragmenting their presence into 1,000 fears, bearing twisted versions of their own distorted destinies. "Which way?" Sammy cried, desperation pouring from his tiny body. "Anywhere! Just run!" Lisa yelled, clutching their hands tightly. But even she felt the encroaching shadows breathe down their necks, wrapping tendrils of dread around her heart. The clown appeared before them, blocking their way, a feral smile etched across its cracked face. "Going somewhere?" The laughter grew deafening, drowning out their thoughts. The walls felt alive, pulsing with the sinister energy of the carnival, and Lisa's mind raced. "Make a choice," it whispered, its voice slithering through the air. Stay and play or step into the unknown. Lisa's heart pounded as she contemplated the path ahead. Every route loomed with uncertainty, yet she knew their only chance lay in fleeing this carnival nightmare. Would they escape the snare of laughter, or would the darkness swallow them whole? The clown's grin widened, a gash of teeth that seemed to stretch beyond physics. Lisa felt the walls closing in, bright lights twisting into a fog of malice. Every part of her screamed to turn and flee, yet the shrieking laughter filled her head, drowning her thoughts. "Choose," it demanded again, and the word reverberated in her chest, a weight pushing her down. "Mommy, I can't breathe!" Sammy's small voice pierced through the chaos, panic dripping from every syllable. He squirmed in her grip, as if the essence of the funhouse was seeping into him, drawing him toward that radiant nightmare. "Hold on to me!" Lisa cried, her voice hoarse. Somehow, she had to break this vile hold. She turned abruptly, aiming for the left path, the one that felt cold and dark, where the laughter faded just a bit. The shadows loomed larger, stretching out like claws grasping at their feet. Grace's eyes shimmered disturbingly in the blues and greens of the lights, a child transformed into something more, a pawn of this gruesome delight. "Let her go," Lisa shouted defiantly, swinging her daughter back toward her. The air thickened with tension, as if the funhouse reacted to her words. "Let's play!" The clown cackled, as if the very universe folded upon itself at the sound, twisting into a whirl of color and pain. The children's laughter mixed with screams, and Lisa felt her skin prickle, an electric warning that struck her straight in the heart. They began to sprint down the chosen path, the darkness widening around them, shadows licking at their heels. The clown's laughter pursued them, mocking and terrible. Ahead, Lisa saw a flicker of fading light, another exit. It was framed by a door that looked like it had been painted in some dark red hue, dripping down the sides like open wounds. Her heart sank. It could be anything but freedom. "Mommy, I don't want to go there," Grace sobbed, eyes wide with terror, twitching against Lisa's grip. "I know," Lisa whispered, her heart aching, "but we have to try." As they approached, the grotesque face of the clown loomed around the corner, its reflection embedded in the glass walls, thousands of twisted versions of itself mocking their every move. The siphoning laughter rose, an unstoppable tidal wave crashing against them. Realizing the door was the only chance, Lisa ran forward, pushing the kids ahead as she flung the door open, praying it wasn't yet another trap. It creaked loudly in protest, revealing a darker corridor beyond, unlit and silent. But the laughter dulled slightly. "Stay close!" Her voice was a whisper now, urgency compressing it into barely a breath. The moment they stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind them, plunging them into heavy silence. Lisa's heart raced, their breath echoing in the void. But the relief was short-lived. From the stillness, a new sound emerged, an unsettling scraping that echoed through the hall, sending chills coursing down her spine. "What's that?" Sammy's voice was small, quivering. "I don't know," Lisa replied, a knot of dread forming in her stomach. The sounds grew louder, the shadows coalescing. Whatever lurked in this secondary darkness was sinister and hungry. Something shuffled just beyond their line of vision, revealing enough to hint at monstrous shapes skittering in the periphery. A chill ran down her spine as a raspy voice hissed, "You shouldn't have come here." "Run!" Lisa shouted, adrenaline surging once more, and she flung her body toward the other end of the dark corridor, dragging her children behind her. As they sprinted into the blackness, the laughter of the clown rang out again, echoing eerily in the void, blending with the new sound that now grew crisp, a chaotic blend of childish giggles and sinister whispers. Lisa could only hope this wasn't the end, because it felt like it was just the beginning. What awaited them in that dark corridor? Did they stumble into an even greater horror? The darkness pressed in closer, a suffocating fog that barely let them breathe. Each step echoed with dread as they raced down the corridor, shadows flickering at the corners of their vision. Lisa felt her heart thud in her chest, a relentless rhythm matching the panic coursing through her veins. Shadows writhed, pulsing like a living thing, and each sound, scratches, whispers, wrapped around them like chains. "Mommy!" Sammy cried, eyes wide with terror. "I can't see!" "Just hold my hand," Lisa urged, gripping their palms tightly as they dashed deeper into the corridor. The scraping intensified, racing alongside them, taunting her every step. Whatever lay ahead felt like a cruel lesson in courage. The stakes were their very souls. A dim light flickered ahead, the only marker of hope in that relentless dark. Lisa surged forward, pulling her children behind her with renewed determination. "Keep going! We're almost there!" she shouted, her voice tearing through the thick silence. As they approached the light, she squinted, indistinct shapes before them slowly coming into focus. It was another chamber, filled with bizarre decorations. Twisted mirrors and bright, gaudy colors that clashed against the suffocating darkness. In the center, the ground was a glassy surface reflecting everything back. Distorted, nightmarish images of their own faces, twisted and grotesque. "Mommy, I don't like it," Grace whimpered, her grip on Lisa's hand growing desperate. "I know, honey, but we have to stay strong." The clown appeared in the far corner, lurking with a sadistic grin, and as if sensing their fear, it let out a laughter that shattered the fragile calm. "You think you can escape? No one leaves the funhouse once they've entered." With a surge of instinct, Lisa turned her back to the clown, knowing they had to find another way out. "Where do we go?" she muttered under her breath, but before an answer could form, the shadows stirred. Suddenly reflections in the mirrors morphed, revealing glimpses of lost children, faces twisted in eternal despair, mouths screaming without sound. Panic surged through her, a primal fear clawing at her heart. What had the carnival taken from them? "Mommy!" Sammy cried, backing away, his small voice choked with fear. "Look away, don't listen," Lisa shouted, the urgency spilling from her lips. She turned them toward the wall of mirrors, desperate to find a path through the twisted illusions of horror. Then an idea struck her. The mirrors. Maybe they could face the darkness, turn it back. "We'll use the mirrors," she explained hurriedly. "If we can reflect their own darkness back on them, maybe we can break free." "But how?" Grace asked, her voice trembling but filled with a flicker of hope. "Let's find one that shows a way out," Lisa urged, her resolve hardening. She quickly scanned the looming reflections, searching for any hint of escape, while the shadows writhed at her heels, eager to claim them. With a glimmer of desperation, she spotted a mirror. Its glass seemed to shimmer differently, glowing softly beneath the malevolent laughter. "Over there!" she pointed, pulling her children toward it. With each step closer, the laughter ebbed, retreating momentarily in the face of determination. They reached the mirror, breathless, as Lisa pushed through, praying it wouldn't turn twisted and sinister like the others. She stepped forward and felt a strange tug, a rush of energy coursing through her veins as the mirror rippled under her touch. With a swift motion, she pulled Sammy and Grace through, connecting them in their small circle of light. The world shifted, colors swirling, and before she could grasp what was happening, they landed in bright daylight, but not in Maplewood. They stood in the open field behind their town, breathless and panting, the carnival nowhere in sight. "What?" Grace whispered, looking around bewildered. "Are we free?" Sammy squeaked, hope sparking in his eyes. "Yes, we did it!" Lisa cried, tears of joy and relief flooding her eyes. They were safe. They had escaped the darkness. But then, a distant sound, a laugh, sickly, sweet and haunting, floated into the air. It sent a chill down Lisa's spine. They turned, and at the edge of the carnival grounds lay the entrance, unrolling as if waiting for them, brightly colored lights flickering, promising laughter and joy. The shadows still lingered, despite their victory over the darkness. Lisa gathered her children close, determination reigning over fear. "We will never return to that place," she vowed, holding them tightly. "We'll keep moving forward, together." And so, hand in hand, they stepped away from those haunted grounds, leaving the whispered promises and horrors behind, moving into the sunlight that spilled warmly on their faces, unaware that the grip of the carnival still held a sinister secret. It would haunt Maplewood, and even though they escaped, forgotten laughter would still thrive in the memories of those who ventured too close, a chilling reminder of what lurked behind twisted mirrors. As they walked on, the laughter echoed in the distance. A haunting melody, a calling from the shadows, but they had one another, stronger and brighter now than any carnival tale. This was their farewell to darkness. They chose light, even when the world tried to pull them back. They were finally free. But was the carnival truly done? Or was it merely waiting in the shadows, eager for the next unsuspecting family to answer its call? Don't let it be another story left unshared. You need to subscribe now to catch the next chilling tale. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and don't wait even one more second to flood the comments with your thoughts and theories. This is the moment to show your support. Share this gripping conclusion with at least 5 friends who need to see this and keep the circle of light strong against the shadows.